up? Hello, hello. Testing,
We,
testing.
yeah, we are so back.
Right. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, we
yeah.
are.
Happy Labor Day and happy my favorite time of the year, as you could tell in the background.
This fall,
Yeah,
I love fall. Fall is
I love.
definitely my favorite. Halloween.
Yes, and I mean, just love is the gloomiest time of the year is the time that I'm actually the happiest, and everybody else is just like, oh God, the next several months and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
the weather around here has been improving,
Mm-hmm. I
even
agree.
even prior to Labor Day.
Yep, yep. How
Yeah.
was your Labor Day? Oh,
I
weekend, I guess. Labor Day weekend?
yeah, I worked. Of
Yeah,
course. Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
I'm work just trying to make it one day at a time. Um, and so it was okay otherwise. I mean, it wasn't like traumatically horrible, but I am overworked enough. I mean, we're understaffed and all of that. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, that sucks you had to work on Labor Day.
yeah.
I what did I do? Kids came up, did a lot of stuff with the kids this weekend. So lots of shopping, walking around, driving, all of that. So
Okay. Yeah.
yay, mommy duties.
Well, I mean, I mean, I guess it comes with the territory and all of that, but I'm sure it's rewarding in its own way, right?
Yeah, it's fun to see the kids, especially now that they're teenagers, like they're 19, 17, and 16. So they're old enough to just, kind of run off on their own and stuff. So you hand them, like $25 each and say meet up back here in an hour, and it's cool, it's nice to have that. I don't have to like walk around a mall making sure I'm holding on to a toddler, making sure I don't lose her in a crowd of people just because I let go of her hand really quick, or she runs off because she sees a toy and I lose. It's the losing the kid thing that I don't have to really worry about anymore because these girls are like, a little bit older now and they can definitely team up against some crazy dude who wants to kidnap them for sure. So,
Speaking of losing, I just remember I went. Hold
uh-oh.
on.
No, you're good. You're glitching, but there you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna find out. Okay.
It's the heat.
Oh,
That excessive heat
yeah.
warning, man. It's gonna fuck up with the internet this week for sure.
There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah. Speaking of getting lost, uh, me and my partner in crime went to Ireland back in 2019, and we were in the city of Galway. And the cell phones don't quite, when you're in one country and you're using your cell phones and you're using the cell phones in another part of the country, excuse me, in another country, especially overseas, um you don't have the reliability on it like you would have back home. and
Mhm.
um and that's what happened there for the that trip in Galway. We lost each other in Galway, probably for about 6 hours, and we didn't know where each other. We were looking
Oh,
at each other
no.
in the sea and all that. But if you ever go to Ireland, Dublin is nice, but if you want to really, really start to see the real Ireland, but kind of be in an urbanized setting, start off Galway. It's a 2-hour train ride from Dublin.
Okay, okay. That's funny you got lost out there. I have, like, a trauma with losing my kids because
Mm.
my dumbass, when I was, like I probably was in, like, maybe 2nd grade, I think. So I remember I was really, really little, like, I was young, and we lived in this trailer park, but there was like a trailer park and then this long desert. And then there was a gas station. And that's where the bus picked us up at every morning. And I didn't know that day because I was so little. I had no idea what daylight savings time was. And so I left to go to the bus stop an hour earlier than what I was supposed to go. And so when I went to the bus stop, I had waited there for like 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes, and there was still nobody at the bus stop, nobody, no bus or anything like that. I was thinking like, what is going on? Did I like miss the bus already? And I didn't want to go back home because I was scared that my mom was going to get mad at me for missing the bus. So I just started walking to school. and it's a fucking walk to school. And this is I wasn't living in Mojave at the time, the little
Okay.
town of Mojave in the in Mojave Desert. Yeah. So I walked to school. I remember there was this like cute little old man, had to have been in his 70s, halfway walking to school. He walked me the rest of the way to school. And now I look back like that guy could have fucking kidnapped me. And I got to school and my grandma and my mom and my aunt, everybody was at the school, like with police officers waiting for me. My mom was freaking out, didn't know where I was, thought I was kidnapped. I was like, I'm fine. I just thought I missed the bus. So this guy took me home or took me to school. Like, man, it was like this big old thing. So ever since then, like I didn't think it was a big deal. I was just like, I'm just walking to school. But now that I look back, like, oh my God, it is a big deal. But because my mom and my family made it a big deal too at the time, like it kind of traumatized me a little bit about getting lost. So I always made sure like I never got lost. And now when I had kids and they were little, the getting lost thing was super, super big on me. Like, I cannot lose these fucking kids no matter where I go. That shit is terrifying to me.
I got lost in Manhattan for 5 hours.
Ooh, that's scary.
I was trying to get to the New Jersey Turnpike on 95, and I drove around. I drove around, and I mean, it was just like, am I ever going to get out of this fucking city? I mean, I mean, I had a great time when I was there for a few hours doing what I needed to do, but it was just kind of like, am I ever going to get out? I
Yeah.
left. I got on the road. I got on the start driving at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was like a little past 7 when I finally got on the New Jersey Turnpike.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's before I had a GPS mobile device in my car. And that was back in, what was it, 2016. I went that late without a GPS mobile device. I got one now, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my friend got lost in Boston once. We were at a park in Boston all day because there was like some kind of weed festival, and we were like so stoked because that was like our day one of vacation. So me and her went over to the park and hung out, and it got nighttime, and I was like, let's go to a fucking strip club. Like, let's go hang out at a strip club. So we started walking, and we made a left in the streets on the streets of Boston, and it got scary really fucking fast. So we did a U-turn because we were like, we're just getting lost. Like it's just getting worse and worse and worse, like scarier and scarier over here. So we did a U-turn and we were walking. So we turned around and started walking back to the street that we knew we were from. And instead of making where we made the left, we went across the street to make a right. And the fucking strip club was like two buildings down. We had just turned the wrong fucking way. I was so mad. I was like, we almost died tonight. Let's go fucking get drunk and dance.
Driving in Boston is a challenge.
We walked it. We were walking.
I mean, but
Yeah.
driving in Boston is a challenge. Last
No,
time I
we
was,
wouldn't. When we went to Boston, we walked everything. Yeah. When I'm a West Coaster, so the one thing I learned about East Coast is nobody has a car, and it's not even worth it to even get a taxi. So when we went out there, I was like, we're just gonna walk everything. Fuck it.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Boston's changed since I've been there previously. I mean, I used to go, I had some relatives in Boston in the 1970s and 80s that we used to visit because we used to go up north every around Christmas time. I mean, have family in not Bridgeport, what's the name? Actually, the same town from D and Friends lives, New London and Groton in that area.
Okay.
Connecticut. This is probably my favorite state I've ever. I could move to Connecticut. I actually literally could live in Connecticut, but it's expensive.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, it's expensive enough down here in North Carolina. I don't know
Mhm.
if I want to go and have the cost of living affect me more, but there are aspects of up north I like way better than down here in the south. So the weather's
Yeah.
better.
The chat is talking about where it's a nightmare to drive in Texas. Do you know where is a nightmare to drive in Texas? Is fucking Austin. I swear to God, I've gone to that place 2 times, and every time I drive around there, north feels like south and south feels like north. I feel like I'm like that town, that city is like flipped 180. Like east feels like going west, west feels like going east, north feels like south, south feels like north. Do that town completely ass backwards me every time I go into there. I fucking hate, I mean, I love Austin. It's a really fun, wild, wacky place, but holy shit. I get lost in Austin so fucking much. It's ridiculous. I can't even go back there. I've gotten lost so much.
Well,
Lost in Austin sounds like a country song. Touche.
I I've never been to Texas, not yet anyway. So,
That's the state I've been to the most, unfortunately. I've been to way many too many towns out there.
well, I mean, the politics is horrible in Texas, but I mean, I think that there are aspects of Texas that I still wouldn't mind visiting. I mean, I think that Austin would be the place I could probably chill the most. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I know
yeah,
I've been to like Austin, Houston, all different other types of Texas, and the only place I really ever want to go to is Dallas because I'm a Cowboys fan and I've never been there. I've even been to the Houston Texans stadium, and I've never been to the Dallas stadium. Like I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, and I've gone to everywhere else but Dallas and Texas.
well, you'll eventually go.
No,
So,
I don't want to go back. I'm done. I'm over Texas. I've been there so fucking much.
okay. Well, if you're done with
You know
Texas,
that country song, "All my exes live in Texas." That's me. That's my life. Like I know like 4 dudes that I've dated that have moved to Texas and they live there now. So like I'm like shoveling all of my hatred towards that state.
I have two ex girlfriends that live in Austin that they don't know each other. One was one was my first girlfriend when I was in college, and I hate her to this day. And the other one, and she was cool, but she was living in Raleigh temporarily at the time. So that was just a little fling.
Nice. Very nice. Hell
uh,
yeah. Yeah, I got a fling in that I had a fling in Texas, but he was a country boy and I was not into it. I ended up meeting a girl and ditched him.
oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, she was hot.
Hey, that's the way to go.
Yeah, yeah, you do crazy things in your 20s, especially in Texas, so.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Let's see. I guess we should probably go with our first
What's up,
story.
everybody in the chat? Just
Let's
wanted
go
to say
say
hi.
hello. We need to do that. Hello, Warren. Hello, Rick. How are you doing? Let's see. Hello, Chuck's Intergalactic UFOs show.
Love it.
Yeah, everybody's so creative with those names. You know.
I know.
Yep. So I think Desert Mantis is here. Yes, yes, right there. And hello.
Don't
Don't
mess
mess
with
with
Texas.
me.
Yeah, I'm done. I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm
Don't mess
good.
with Texas. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I guess we'll. I know Ed Heller's here, and anybody else. We'll make sure we say. Well, let's go and make sure we say Daniel very sports highlights. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Man,
yeah.
Ed has been making some crazy food. I've been seeing his Facebook posts. Holy
You
shit,
too.
man. That boy has been grilling up and cooking. Man, he eats. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I saw the video, the Labor Day shindig with him, Warren, and Laney Peterson, and they look like they had a fun time
Hell
with
yeah.
the backyard
I know. I'm
barbecue.
so excited Warren is out there with friends to hang out with that,
Mhm.
mean a lot to him and shit like that. Like being out in New York, man, being out in Chicago now, I'm just so happy for Warren and all of that. Like that's just such a cool thing for him.
Yeah, I haven't been to Chicago in what 20 21 years. Last time I was in Chicago was in 2003. Yeah,
Okay. I've
yeah.
never been.
Yeah, I'm almost lived in Chicago. I was almost arrested in Chicago in the '70s, but my mother had her purse snatched, and that was all. She was just like, "No, we're not moving here," and she made that clear to my dad, "We're not moving here." So there was no move to Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So so I was kind of like, really? I was here all these years in North Carolina because some asshole stole your purse.
That's funny.
Yeah, but that's
Of
exactly
course.
yeah, that's exactly what happened. Who
Yep.
knows what happened in my life at that if there would have been a
Right.
move to Chicago.
Raised in the city. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Where I lived was definitely in the rural, very conservative area of the state. Everybody kind of set in their ways, and when we moved there in the early '70s, I was too young, but when we moved there in the '70s, it was the kind of place where they didn't take too kindly to outsiders, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep. Makes sense. It's kind
yeah.
of what I did with my kids. I mean, I was kind of raised up in like the city life and I didn't want that for my kids. I wanted them to be kind of more rural and shit, but it's just a different kind of bad out here. Like I learned my lesson. I probably shouldn't have done that to these kids because there is no change, no difference in these kids than they are in the city kids. It's just they find different ways to do the same thing. So there's no fucking difference. And you're right, like the conservatives stuck in their ways out here. I hate it. It's no friends. I've got no friends in this area whatsoever. They all suck.
Yeah, I live in a rural area here, and kind of okay. It's just outside of Raleigh, and just I'm trying to decide where I'm going to go when I retire. I'm actually having to think seriously about this. Do I move to the west up into the mountains, which has beautiful weather for by North Carolina standards? It stays cooler a little bit longer, and you get actual snow. Or do I move to the coast where it's just you know I love the Outer Banks. There's nothing quite like the Outer Banks of North Carolina. I mean, it is a beautiful area. Everything in between sucks in this state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I could agree.
And if I were to move abroad, I think I know where I would move if I move out of the country. So, I'm really convinced that I think I would move to Portugal if I were to just like pack it all up and move overseas.
Right, right.
Cost of living is low. There's free healthcare, and I could be a socialist without, 70% of the population thinking I'm a lunatic.
Right. Yeah. Orange County is where all the conservatives in California huddle. Yeah, they do. That's where like the rich, beachy, poshy, like valley girl ones are for sure. It seems like more like California is like it's like a lot of conservatism, but it's all spread very like in rural areas, and then you've got these huge city pockets of liberalism. So like Los Angeles, San Diego, Santa Monica,
Let's
San
go.
Francisco. You've got these city, Sacramento, you've got these city pockets, like they're big cities too, that are just liberal as shit. But then once you start getting away from it, everywhere in between in California is just these huge swaths of like large lands where like these conservative families live. And there's a lot. It's just, it seems like there's more people living in the dense cities than out in the rural areas. So blue wins the state some fucking how. I have no idea, but it works. So,
I have a friend that lives in California. Unfortunately, he's taken not a positive turn politically, and he claims how far left California is. Those Democrats. I'm like those Democrats are to my right.
mhm.
you know,
Yep. Yep.
they're and he's telling me no, they're all far left. Yeah, he was sort of indicating that we're like in Bernie territory and all that. I said no, they're more like Hillary Clinton. They're more like Joe Biden. They're more like
Yeah.
you
Kamala
know
Harris kind of. Yeah. Yep.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Oh, they're more like that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly, PHX. Yeah, our rent here is reasonable. The landlord has refused to kind of increase it as much as other places are, so we're still really lucky here. Like with what we have, we're still under $1,500 a month here, and they did just started enacting the rent control too. So yeah, and that's the same with my husband. His commute to work is 3 hours to like Los Angeles or Ventura every day. So it's 3 hours there, 3 hours back. So the drive is just absolutely crazy. So yeah, I totally understand. It's hard to live out here in fucking California. It's rough unless you're making, over $100,000 a year. It's rough.
I think it's rough everywhere.
Yeah.
This person telling me. This person from the opposite end said to me the same thing that Jim Perlman said from Florida, that I'm in a better place. That he says it because he thinks California's too far left. He says it because Florida's too far right, and North Carolina is sort of like the what was it? Sort of like Goldilocks with the just right bed, just right porridge. It's not hot or cold, and the bed is not soft or hot. That sort of thing. But North Carolina's got its issues too. So
Right. Right. Yep. Same.
yeah,
$2,400 for a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. Jesus fucking Christ. Like my house, like I live in 900. I don't know how big this house is. I don't think it's very large either, but like, where the fuck do you live at? Because like, I'm up in the San Bernardino mountains. So like, my house is very weird. It's like, it's got some stories, but it's more like a tree house where to get up to the second story or get down to the first story or to the bottom story, you have ladders instead of stairs. So like downstairs is what they call like the mother-in-law quarters, and that's where my kid is. It's just got a bedroom and a little bathroom. And then my living room has a bedroom with a bathroom. And then upstairs is the attic, which we can use as a bedroom if we want to, but it's technically just an attic. And we pay like $1,400 a month. I think it's 13. No, it just raised up to 14. So we pay $1,400. So you live in Santa Ana. Okay. So that's why
That's
Santa Ana's crazy.
That's about North Carolina's price around here, more or less. What you just said, Jimmy, about
Yeah, but
1,400.
we got really lucky here at the house. So like very, very lucky. Like our landlord even said to us that he's not going to raise it like other people are wanting to do. So he was told to raise it up to like $2,000, but we would have been homeless, and he wants to keep getting money every month, and he really likes us. So he's not doing it too much, just enough to where it pays for itself every month. He's not making any profit on this house.
Okay, well, I'm glad you have an understanding landlord, so that
Yeah. Well, he's a slumlord. He doesn't pay for trash to come, so we have to figure out where how to get rid of our trash every week, but and doesn't like do anything around the house to fix it. Like there's a whole wall right there where our driveway is that goes down to where our house is, and half of the brick wall is like up against our house. I'm waiting for the house to like cave in right there. So there's a lot of stuff he's not doing. So it's kind of like you gotta, take and give. Like, yeah, you're not charging us a buttload of rent, but you're really not doing anything to help us out
yeah,
anywhere.
there's a price, I guess, for yeah. I guess it's give and take. So
Yep,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, shall we? Hello. Oh, hold on.
There you
Okay.
go.
Shall we
Yeah,
go
Irvine next
with?
door, 3, 4,000. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's
I know I'm
do it.
trying to find
Okay.
places out in like Anaheim area out there, like northeastern LA. And it's driving me crazy because like I've got a dog and 3 cats. Like I can't go sit in a fucking apartment with a dog and 3 cats and a kid and a husband and shit. Like for like $2,000, $3,000. It's nuts out there down in the city trying to get closer to work and shit like that. Find like I need to find a job, but I can't because I'm out in the middle of the fucking boonies. So I want to go down in the city, but then it's the prices are like that, and we can't afford to live down there. We're going to be fucking living like poor people just so I can get a job. Like it's so crazy living in California, like the give and take, like you were saying, it's nuts out here.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Just life is expensive,
It is.
which is, why it's important to celebrate Labor Day, because we're all under the we're all under demand, kind of, so to speak. So, um,
Mhm.
and there's I guess we'll start with a labor story. In Alabama,
Yeah.
um, Governor Kay Ivey, I believe that's her name, she's a horrible governor. We talked about Texas for a second. We talked about Florida, Governor Abbott, Governor DeSantis, but Kay Ivey is a pretty horrible governor too, as well. We'll go with this story here. Alabama elected officials rejoice after Mercedes union vote fails. State not allowed to be the sweet home of UAW, Ivy says. And this is, I'll have something to say about that because Tennessee went through this about a decade ago as well. Um, Alabama elected, this was by Howard Kaplowitz, and it says Alabama elected officials took delight in the workers at Mercedes-Benz plant in Vance voting against joining the United Auto Workers Union in a setback to organized labor in the state. "Quote unquote, the workers in Vance have spoken, and they have spoken clearly," says Governor Kay Ivey shortly after unofficial results show the workers voted 2,045 to 2,642 against union representation, according to the National Labor Relations Board. Alabama is not Michigan, and we're not the sweet home of the UAW, Ivy says. A variation of a line she used earlier in the week when she signed a bill that could lead revoking economic incentives on companies that voluntarily recognizes unions starting next year. That's crazy.
What?
Yeah. So basically, and I'll continue, but basically, if a company is okay with their union, because there's a few companies like that, they're going to make damn sure that they're going to disincentivize those companies from being unionized by basically, not giving them economic incentives.
Wow.
Tennessee did that a decade ago with Volkswagen. Volkswagen and the UAW have, what I can tell, a fairly healthy relationship with each other. And they were going to bring it to Tennessee. And they kind of did the same thing. They were like, you bring that union here, you ain't getting any of this incentives. So, and I'm not, here's the thing. This proves what I have been saying all along. And I hate the two-party system, but I'm going to bash Republicans right now. This is when they say that the Republicans is the party of the working class. And this year, at this time, I've been hearing people saying that Trump came in and his populism has turned the Republican Party into a working class party. That is bullshit. If you hate unions, you're opposed to unions, you're not for the working class.
Right. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. I'll continue.
I know it's so crazy how they've gotten like the mental manipulation and having people believe that the right to work is better than unionizing. Like you just got to do a little bit of history, reading history. That's all you got to do.
I belonged to a labor union for 20 years at my previous job, UFCW Local 204, United Food Commercial Workers. It's a relatively weak union, but in spite of its weakness, um, there's a difference between night and day when you have a relatively weak union versus no unions. And I know this for a fact because I went from a unionized job right away to a non-unionized job. I'm lucky that I have managers that they're okay. They're trained to not be assholes, and I'm very lucky in that regard. But still, there's a lot of rights that they can just take away from you in a non-union job that they can't in a union setting. And
Hmm.
so my wages are about the same, but my health insurance is more. I'm paying more, and I'm getting less for my health coverage. That's because it's a non-union shop. Things like that. Things like your vacation times. At my previous job, you could take your vacation any month during the year you want to, starting from November till January 1st. They don't allow you to take any vacation time. So
Hmm.
I mean, there's little things like that. And plus, my pension at my union job, 20 years, is going to translate into, I'm going to be making more when I retire than I am while I'm working. And that's not just the union boss telling me this. This is all my fellow workers that retired from the previous company, can confirm that they're actually making significantly more money when they retire than they were while they were working. With the pensions they're getting and their Social Security combined, they're like, damn, life is pretty good now.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
so
Okay.
anyway, yeah, I'll continue. Okay, we urge UAW to repeat the results of this secret ballot elections. Ivy continue after the vote. I'm proud that Alabama is the home of the greatest automakers in the world, and I'm grateful to these companies who provide good pay. No, she don't. Benefits and opportunities and many men and women across our state. As I have said, automotive manufacturing is one of Alabama's crown jewel industries and the number one in this country, and we're committed to keeping it that way. Um, you can tell I'm a big fan of this governor. UAW President Sean Fain addressed the anti union criticism from Ivy and other Alabama elected officials during the news conference shortly after the vote. Quote, at the end of the day, shame on them, Fain said. How you say you represent people, citizens, say they want something. This is all about one thing. It's about corporate greed. That's what this all goes back to. Obviously, when they pick a side in this battle, they show whose side they're on. They're not on the side of the working class. They're on the side of they're not on the side of the workers they represent. They're on the side of the companies and the billionaire class, and they show it in their actions. Ivy's sentiment was echoed among Republican members of the state congressional delegation. Representative Rogers, um, uh, see, Representative Mike Rogers of Sachs, I guess, alluded "Sweet Home Alabama" in his reaction to this failed union vote. Alabama, let's see, quote unquote again, Alabama workers can see how straight through the UAW's empty promises. He said, "I hope the UAW president Sean Fain will remember a Southern man don't need him around anyhow." So that's pretty much, and I mean, I could go on with this, or I can actually, I think that's it. Just a couple of anti-union tweets and all of this. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, actually, just a little more, but you get the gist of what's going on here, and they're antagonistic. They're
Yeah.
antagonistic toward workers, and somebody asked me, what is it with the Republican Party I have a problem with? I told them I have many, 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 many problems. But I would say that the number one problem I have with the Republican Party today is their antagonism to organized labor. That's probably the biggest issue I have with them. And other issues I have deep issues with them too. But you know,
Right.
uh since Reagan, they have destroyed the middle class, and they use the culture wars. They talk about division, but they like to divide people, and so you have a lot of people who get sucked up in this culture war. They don't realize that the people on the top are just laughing at us and they're pissing on us.
Mhm. Mhm. All that work we did, and we all the thing like the union stuff we got in the mid 1900s, just to kind of think that, this is it, like we did it, we don't have to worry about it anymore, and not realizing that it's a constant battle because corporations are going to try to kill it and make it even worse, which is what we're seeing now. And it's the more that we don't pay attention and we keep doing this infighting, like you said, with the culture wars and the separations and the divisions of people and things like that, instead of working together for unions being powerful again, this is what's going to happen. And the video that I showed you or brought to you today even proves even more that these corporations are just going to keep using and abusing the citizens of America to make as much profit as they fucking can.
Yes, they are. And so, let's see. Let me see what is this one's
Yeah, it's
called
a
here.
great segue to this fucking video because you want to see how crazy and corrupt corporations are. Like, this video is going to prove it right here. Like, exactly. Like, they're not only trying to get rid of unions, they're also still using slave labor uh in the form of a loophole in our constitution. So
Let's see. Is it white strike workers, red
no, it's
Plesius?
the TikTok one.
Let's see. So one. Okay, okay. Sorry. Let me find it then. All right. TikTok. Okay. For some reason, I thought there was another TikTok one in here. Okay. This is the one then. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is the one.
Mm-hmm.
And we will.
I was just about to say that's slavery. That's slavery. You took away the whips, but you
See
put
if
the
you can
paper
turn
on
the
them.
volume up.
Took away the
Yes, over there.
masters and you put them in uniform. Same difference. Same difference.
It kind of appears that there is a coordinated system in order to protect the labor created by the prison system.
Walk into a McDonald's in Alabama.
Maybe scroll down
Hold
a little bit, see if the volume is under.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And for some reason, it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Come on. I don't know why it's not moving.
It's TikTok.
It's not doing what's supposed to do. Damn it.
Continue without login.
Give me a second. I can get it back in mere seconds.
You're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. Because I remember the TikTok when you sent that to me earlier. Here it is. And I might be able to rescue it. Let's see. Here's the volume. It's actually as up as it can be. So we'll try this again.
Hold on. Okay. Try. I'm going to send you another link. And I'm going to put it in the chat for you. See if this one will work better.
Okay, I see it. All right. Oh, give me a second. That's going to work better.
Okay.
It should anyway. Let me just track it down. Let me put it back in the beginning. Sorry about that. We'll get it ready.
Why is it showing 43 minutes?
All right, y'all, welcome to the show. We are going to have some fun today. So, Lex Friedman did an interview with Donald Trump, and it was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
That's not it.
No, check the one in the voice chat. Oh, in the private chat. Sorry, yeah. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing in the comments? I got fan on my face because it's so fucking hot. Today's like day one of like extreme excessive heat warning, and I've got a fan on me, but it's like blowing all these random hairs in my face, and it's tickling my face, and it's driving me crazy. How's everybody's day? Who else is in an excessive heat warning? Because this shit's nuts.
I don't know where this is coming from.
Type in YouTube. What did I just type in there? Hold on. It's More Perfect Union Slave Labor. And it's the first video that pops up.
I don't know what the hell. Oh, I found it. I don't know where the hell that came from. I am so sorry about that. Okay. We're going to...
80 degrees. Yeah, that's so brutal, Lucky. Goddamn, Lucky. I wonder what the... Oh, it's 93. Fuck that. It's 93 right now.
Okay, I got it, Timmy. I don't know where the hell that Kyle... I haven't seen a Kyle Gillespie video at all today, and he popped up.
And it's a 43-minute long video. I was like, Jesus Christ.
No. It's not 2018 anymore. So, all right.
In the Great White North, Lucky. Lucky.
Put them in uniform.
Yeah.
Same difference. Same difference.
It kind of appears that there is a coordinated system in order to protect the labor that's created by the prison system.
Walk into a McDonald's in Alabama, and the worker flipping your McDouble could be an incarcerated person.
It's a sad situation the way they getting rich off us.
The Alabama Department of Corrections farms out incarcerated people to work at hundreds of private companies and government agencies across the state.
McDonald's, Burger King, Golden Corral, Wendy's. We got a Wendy's contract right now. State Trooper's office.
They'll send everybody everywhere.
They'll send you everywhere. Yeah. It's the parole office.
And even though ADOC trusts these incarcerated people to leave prison every day and work alongside the general public, many of them are still denied the chance at real freedom.
I work for y'all, but when I come up from parole, you deny me. Why would you deny me? Because you're getting free service.
This is a story about corporations and the state of Alabama exploiting prison labor and the coercive policies they use to keep its citizens trapped in servitude.
It doesn't work. It's a terrible system.
If you're wondering how any of this is even legal, well, it might not be. That's what we went to Alabama to figure out.
So yeah, could you just describe like how long you worked here? And
I was here 18 months. That I ran a kitchen by myself from 8 to 5 every Tuesday through Thursday.
wow,
Yeah.
that sounds like hard work.
It was.
Elizabeth Thomas was in the Alabama Work Release Program for 5 of her 15 years in prison.
So they had a combination of incarcerated people and free world people.
Yes. Yes.
Did you feel like there was a difference how they treated?
Sorry for the buffering.
Oh, most definitely. We work longer hours.
Make the work release work over or work extra days. Don't want to give you off days. Like, no, I got to eat my health. I have to get rest. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a machine. But that's how they look at you. Like,
This is Quincy Sanders. During his nearly 17 years in prison, he worked at several restaurants, a lumber yard, and McDonald's.
like working a real job and trying to be incarcerated is a very hard experience. You have to be mind strong, really.
Alabama has one of the most overcrowded and deadly prison systems in the United States. Even the Justice Department found conditions there to be unconstitutional. In 2023, almost a person a day died in Alabama prisons, which is almost 5 times the national average.
Or they might get beat to death. People beating folks with sticks. They breaking broomsticks, making little billy clubs. People in there stabbing each other. People in there doing drugs. People in there almost about to die. They're not giving you no nursing assistance. The nurse probably get there. You probably be dead.
But ADOC offers people in prison with nonviolent misdemeanor convictions a potentially life-saving deal. If they join the work release program, they get to live in special facilities that are generally much less dangerous than regular prisons. They spend their days working in the free world without prison supervision, and they can earn 72-hour passes to visit their families at home.
If you go out here and you do the right thing, you get to elevate, you get to grow, you get out of this facility. But you know what you didn't tell me is that you finna get all my money. That's what they didn't tell you.
The state takes a 40% cut of every incarcerated worker's wages off the top, before taxes, plus an additional $5 a day for van rides to and from work, $15 a month for laundry, and then any restitution and court fees.
If your check is $636, you might see two something out of that. And that's every 2 weeks. and you done work 80 hours and only seen $200. Like it makes you lose motivation, because you know money motivate people, especially at working. So it kind of makes you lose motivation.
One estimate calculated that the state of Alabama enjoys a benefit of more than $450 million a year off of prison labor.
And it's slavery all the way around the board, just slavery.
And unlike free world workers, incarcerated workers can't just get a shift covered or quit.
ADOC has a list of rules that all incarcerated people are expected to abide by. Rules like don't have contraband, be in your bunk at the required time, and rules like don't refuse to work. That's a rule on the books.
CJ Sandley is one of the attorneys behind a recent lawsuit filed against ADOC.
The range of punishments folks can face if they get written up for refusing to work include solitary confinement, losing access to phones, tablets, visitation, access to their families and loved ones for like 30 days, 60 days, being required to do more work inside the prison walls for free under threat of punishment.
I want to talk to my family. I want to be a part of my family. And you're telling me that if I don't go and do what you want me to do at these jobs, work as hard as they want me to do, if they need me 7 days, you want me to go there 7 days. If they need me 80 hours, you want me to work 80 hours. If they want me to turn around and come back and do a double, you want me to get up and you want me to be available to do all this. But if I decide I'm tired, Lord forbid if we got sick.
I talked to Reginald Burrell, who was injured when an entertainment center fell on his head at the private furniture manufacturing company where he worked through ADOC. When he spoke up about it, he was fired.
And I confronted Xavier about it, and they shipped me to Shieldsburg with extra duty, taking away my privileges, and I ended up in a landfill. I just got assaulted and mistreated at this job, and now I'm ended in a landfill working for free for a multi-million-dollar company.
One of the most valuable things in the system is whatever I can do to get out early. If a work stoppage to protect myself from being abused and to speak up for myself could subject me to sanctions, I don't have to say it, but you're going to follow whatever order you're given.
Chris England is a state representative in Alabama. He's leading the fight to reform the state's prison system.
It is a completely broken system. The folks in charge, the parole board, they don't use guidelines. There is no methodology applied to it.
Alabama has some of the lowest parole grant rates in the country.
And more than 90% of the time hearing this answer.
Denied, 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 be denied. Parole will be denied.
If the parole board followed its own guidelines, it would grant parole in about 80% of cases. But instead, that number dropped to just 8% last year. And incarcerated people in the work release program don't fare much better.
I know that there are people at the Department of Corrections, they assess them, and then they say, you are not a threat. So much so, you can leave here and go work. Some people actually go home for 72 hours on a weekend and are told, we trust you to the point where you do whatever you got to do. We'll see you Monday morning, 8 o'clock. That same person goes before the parole board and they say, what you did 20 years ago is so bad we can't let you out. You're a threat to public safety, but make sure you're at work tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm. A federal lawsuit claims that 235 people in the work release program were denied parole in fiscal year 2022.
So if the system is operating as designed, what is the point of the system?
It appears labor is.
Yup.
Lawsuit talks a lot about is that very clear lineage from slavery in the state to convict leasing and to what we've got now. And the punishment by the Department of Corrections is what our clients are challenging, because that's what amounts to involuntary servitude and slavery by the state.
After the Civil War, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery with a key caveat. Forced labor was still allowed for people convicted of a crime. And the states adopted a copycat of this federal amendment. But here's the thing. In 2022, Alabamians made a historic vote to remove this exception.
The state has a new constitution. Voters overwhelmingly agreed to make our state constitution free of racist laws and language.
However, right after the voters of the state changed the state constitution, the governor and the Department of Corrections really doubled down on the punishment for refusing to work.
So the people closed the loophole and then the governor went around to open it up again, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
Governor Kay Ivey's executive order made encouraging or causing a work stoppage a high-level violation on the same level as possession of a weapon, drug possession, and bribery. The order also cracked down on correctional incentive time, better known as
good time.
In some prison systems, good behavior is rewarded with what's known as good time. People can earn sentence reductions and get released from prison early.
And the state legislature even changed its good time law to increase that form of punishment for folks who refuse to work.
We're simply changing the amount of correctional incentive time or good time days that are offered.
Are we increasing or are we lowering it?
We are lowering them.
All of this was done on the heels of this constitutional change, and frankly, it's a brazen ignoring of the will of the voters of the state, and that's what our lawsuit is about. And so many people want to work, but they want to be paid fairly. They want to be paid a free world wage for the labor they're doing. They want to be working in safe conditions. They want to be treated fairly, and they don't want to be forced to work if they don't want to, or they can't because they're sick, or they have a doctor's appointment, or they're feeling unsafe in their work and they want to change jobs.
One of the unique things about this state and really the country is that things just never end. They evolve.
Yep.
If your prison system is full, it's primarily full of Black folks, Black men, and you have a racial disparity in who gets released and who doesn't. Can you imagine the optics of what that labor force looks like?
Black people account for just over a quarter of Alabama's total population, but more than 50% of the prison population. An AL.com investigation found that Black men were 25% less likely to get parole than white men.
If you could take a picture of a group of men who are working convict labor decades ago and juxtapose that next to a current labor force, it would probably look the same.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So, what is the point of prison? Is it the creation of a cheap, controllable, and confined labor source? Or is it rehabilitation? And what does a real commitment to rehabilitation for incarcerated people actually look like?
I wish they'd strip that name off of that Alabama Department of Correction. I wish they'll take correction out of that and just say Alabama Department, because ain't no correction. Ain't no correction, ain't no structure, ain't no discipline. You discipline me to do what you want me to do, not the law. Not to come back in society and be able to live off of what you taught me. That's not what's going on. If I lived off what DOC taught me, I'd still be a criminal. Because they want that paycheck. They want me to come back in tomorrow. They want me to. Because they money keep flowing.
Yeah.
It's no correction. We need to start correcting. We need to start loving. We need to start teaching.
Yep. She's freaking right.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget.
That is slavery in its modern form.
It absolutely is. Them not being able to make any kind of money whatsoever, being forced to work. If you don't work, you get in trouble. If you get harassed or messed up at work, they just move. They don't do anything to the people that are actually like the workers that are there. They actually just move you to another spot and keep that person there. Like, that video is just a little, schism of Alabama. Like that kind of stuff is very prominent throughout the entire country in whether it's, state prisons down to county jails. They do the same thing. I've had my own personal experience in county jail, where I was working in the clinic. We would mop and sweep and mop the clinic every day. Every morning, one of the actual people working there tried to get me to go into a closet to do, sex stuff with him, and I said fuck no. So when work was over, I went and told one of the corrections officers, and she ended up just moving me to a whole different workplace and never did anything with the guy. The guys still work there. So I've had my own experiences. There was a time where I ended up getting really bad rash, like burn rashes from these huge big pots. Like they're like these enormous fucking pots, like that were like 4 feet tall, just big gigantic things, and that's how they made the food. And you'd have to sit there with this gigantic wooden spoon and just stir over it constantly for hours and hours. And I got a burn on my arms, and I needed to stay out, and they threatened to put me in solitary confinement for 2 weeks until the rash went away. And I said, fuck you, I'm going to work. You are not going to stick me in a room by myself for 2 weeks. I will literally find a way to fucking kill myself. Like I didn't say that to him, because then they would have, but I'm like thinking, you ain't putting me in no fucking solitary confinement. So I've had my own experiences with the forced to work kind of thing. The thing is that they didn't even say in there too is when you do the work release programs like these and you actually leave the jail and come back, you're forced to do a court line when you come back every time if you leave the jail. So every time you come back to jail, that day at work or your 72-hour weekend thing, you've got to get fully naked, bend over, spread them, and cough to people who are, with flashlights up in your crotch. Like, shit's embarrassing, and it's traumatizing, and it's not that fun, and it's horrible experience. Like, they really figure out ways to just humiliate you and make you feel like shit. Working in jail is kind of like the same as working in Walmart. You work forever for barely anything, and instead of getting a raise, they give you a pizza party. It's kind of like that, but like worse. So, and I couldn't even imagine like what Alabama is going through with all of that too. Like that's just so fucking upsetting to me when I watched that.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of aware of that prior to this video, but actually watching this video, just kind of like, wow,
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, I mean, and here's the thing, I'm called a class reductionist by people who don't like my politics, and they're like, they don't think I pay attention to identity politics. I mean, here's where the identity, I mean, it's obviously based on racism. And and this is not just being politically correct. This is based on racism. It's looking at somebody's skin color, and they're just going to do everything they can to keep people down. Especially in places like Alabama. I mean, I'm a Southerner, and I could, even though North Carolina is probably not as backwards as Alabama, I could see how law enforcement, the way the law enforcement will treat a black person and treat a white person. I mean, just on a just pulling somebody over, and I mean,
Yeah, and a lot of these work release programs, you have to have a low crime, like no violent crime or anything like that. It has to be a low level crime for you to be able to do these work release programs, because they have to be able to trust you to leave and then come back every day. And they're telling me, this video is telling me that, and what that guy was saying in the video, you can trust these people to leave jail every day and come back. You can trust these people to go on weekend trips to their family and come back to jail on Monday morning at 8 o'clock. But you can't release them. You can't say that their time is done. And then Alabama taking down the good time work time as well. The entire state voted to increase that to help people out. And what did the governor do? Goes behind the back and go and reopens that loophole again, and also decreases good time work time. So like when you're in jail or prison and let's say you have 100, whatever, just some lousy 100 days. Okay, when you're working in jail, your good time work time turns that 1 day that you're in jail into 2 days. It doubles your days. That's what good time work time is. So that's why they say your release date could be reduced. It's because 1 day is doubling up. And so what it seems, I don't know exactly what they're trying to do in Alabama to take it from 1 to 1, but it could be like 1 to 0.25, like 1 day of work could be a quarter of a work day. So, 4 days of work, and then you get a full work day, good time work time day. So, I mean, I couldn't even imagine what they're trying to do, because from all I've ever known is good time work time is 1 day, 1 day. You get 1 and 1. That's it. That's how it works. As long as you work, you've got 2 days of check mark of being there that time. So it's crazy to me that they're even thinking of doing that, and the governor going behind the back of the people after everybody voted. It's there, man, that state's screwing up big time. It ain't no sweet home Alabama anymore. That place is a hellhole.
Yeah, I think Leonard Skinner lied to us.
Right, yeah, exactly. There's no sweet home Alabama.
Yeah,
Maybe
course.
sweet home for white people, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, and you get to hear some white people with the victim cards, like, oh, they pay attention to everybody except for us white people. And I don't really like to throw around the term white privilege that much. But there is white privilege, and that's a raw example right there. And it's like society is looking for an opportunity to deprive all people, but they do focus on African Americans, maybe to a lesser extent Hispanics or Asians or Native Americans, but they focus on African Americans to demean them as much as possible, whether it's done consciously or unconsciously. I mean, the point is that's what's going on. There's no denying of that, and that is an injustice that needs to be addressed right there.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So
Leonard Skinner was from Jacksonville. What's up, Hirsch? Yeah.
Yeah, Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah, I think it was, they named it after a teacher. Their gym teacher was Leonard Skinner. They were like, "What? They like to sound that name, Leonard Skinner."
Yeah, Alabama was never sweet. It's so crazy to me how one state could just be so wild like that.
Yeah, I mean, no, and I just
and those motherfuckers out there in jail are like literally have chains on their ankles and are breaking rocks with hammers. Like, tell me slavery's not still here. Like that's literally what that is. We're in 2024 and motherfuckers are still chained or have chains on their legs and are breaking bricks with hammers. You're kidding me, right? You're absolutely fucking kidding me. And that's bad in its own way, but also to see inmates having to work jobs that at least normal citizens could have, where it's actually where these corporations have to pay them minimum wage. But no, like they want to abuse the Department of Corrections system and make them work for pennies on the dollar. That's absolutely wild to me. I can't believe like McDonald's and shit like that would, I mean I could, but it's still like, what timeline am I on right now? Because I had no fucking idea.
One more reason to boycott some of these corporations. You know, and it's like what Warren says online on Twitter. Shut it down.
Yep.
So
shut it all down.
Exactly. We're going to still keep going with the Labor Day theme. So, but this is an oldie. What I'm about to play right here. And this is when Rachel Maddow was actually based, and not the lunatic she is today. Once upon a time, she was okay. But anyway, she explains a piece of legislation that Obama campaigned on in 2008. And this legislation, do you remember the Employee Free Choice Act?
I don't know. I think so.
I oppose right to work laws, but if we had to have right to work, Employee Free Choice Act is a way to counterbalance it, because what it will do, it will actually automatically grow the unions. And and once Obama became president, they made like one little attempt at it, and then they never talked about it again. But she explained what Employee Free Choice Act is, and I was very excited when there was actually prospects of this being talked about. And when the Democrats were controlling Congress in the last 2 years of the Bush presidency, of course they voted for it to be vetoed by George W. Bush, but they really didn't mean it. They knew he was going to veto it. So all right, here we go. All right.
First, you enjoy big partisan fights on the floor of Congress, if you enjoy hyperbolic warnings from Republicans about Armageddon and the end of the Republic as we know it, tomorrow might be a good day to call in sick and curl up with C-SPAN. Because tomorrow, Democrats in both houses of Congress are expected to introduce a piece of legislation that may divide Republicans and Democrats more sharply than any other issue, more than the stimulus, more than the budget, more than even health care, maybe. It is the sort of wonky-sounding Employee Free Choice Act. Boiled down, EFCA would make it easier for employees to form unions. As it stands, if you want to join a union, your employer can demand that you hold a secret ballot election. Why might they want to do that? I don't mean to cast aspersions, but there is a whole industry that has sprung up to help companies make the union or no union election process really intimidating for the workers. If the Employee Free Choice Act passed, the employees would get to decide what they wanted to do. They'd get to decide if they wanted to use the secret ballot election or if they wanted to allow employees to just sign cards instead, cards saying whether or not they wanted to join. If a majority of workers signed the card, they'd get a union. President Obama and congressional Democrats are on board with this proposed change. But the Republican Party has come out against it, way against it, like this is the hill we'll die on against it.
If you want to turn America into Europe, there's nothing.
Yes, I do. That's exactly what I want to do, Mitch McConnell.
Will do it faster than eliminating the secret ballot in labor organizing elections.
It's dangerous for America. It's dangerous to small business. And I think it's a threat to one of the fundamentals of democracy.
This is nothing more than a payback to the big labor bosses. Take away the secret ballot election from workers is not supported by union workers, by potential union members. This is, I think, an affront to the American people, and we will do everything we can to stop this.
An affront to the American people? Something even union members hate. A threat to the fundamentals of democracy. Egads. Actually, have you guys actually read the bill? Because if the employees still want the election thingy, they can still do that. Seriously. No, seriously, did you guys read the bill? Do you want just the Cliff Notes version? Here it is from the House Committee on Education and Labor. Quote, the Employee Free Choice Act does not abolish the NLRB election process. That process would still be available. Would still be available. Still available. It does not abolish the secret ballot. People get a choice. It's a pretty simple thing to explain, actually, Employee Free Choice Act.
Okay, that video was sponsored by the Service Employees International Union as kind of an awareness about the legislation. And I mean, just think about if you have right to work and it's easier to form a union. Just think how much better this country would have been if 10% of the workforce could have turned into 25 or 30% of the workforce, which I think that's what would have happened had that legislation passed.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Like
I said earlier, it's just going to have to be a constant fight. We're going to have to fight all the time and never give up. When things are really good, we can't just be like, all right, things are going to be good for a while. Let's have fun. We can't do it. We got to fight because they're always going to find loopholes.
And I'm not sure if that provision's in the kind of written in the to protect the right to organize act, which is another piece of legislation that they said they were for, and you can see how passionately they're fighting for it right now. They're not. I mean, They're not. And I mean, I remember I was getting excited about the PRO Act when it was being, when it was being introduced and all that. So I guess we could go with next video. Let's see here. Which one you want to do? One of yours?
No, go for it.
Okay, let's see what we got. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's see. Okay. Oh, well, this is one of my favorites right here. Remember when Mitch McConnell said in that video about America turning into Europe? Remember that part?
I think so.
Yeah, I interrupted and I say, yes, that's as I would like to see, economically speaking. So anyway, yeah. So this is a right-wing video talking about the myth of Scandinavian socialism. And this is the way that they have rebranded fighting against, what I call Bernie adjacent values, I guess you could say. That we're all basically on that page. We just wish he would actually still be on that page and fight harder for it. But anyway, yeah, I remember when he was running in 2016, 2020, that the right wing decided to go and change the narratives, and they come up with talking points like this.
Dare I ask? We need to be more like Scandinavia so that we can be happy like them. How do we need to be more like Scandinavia, Bob? Their poverty rate is less than half the United States, and they have free health care, free higher education, free paternal leave, free vacation, free retirement, a living minimum wage, a higher happiness index score, and a higher individual GDP than the U.S. Scandinavia proves that democratic socialism can work. Actually, Bob, the Scandinavian countries that people like to point to, like Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Norway, aren't really socialist at all. What? Not only has the Prime Minister of Denmark gone out of his way to publicly say that they're a market economy, those 4 Scandinavian countries rank about the same as the US as far as economic freedom is concerned. Yes, they have very robust welfare systems that previous administrations have put in place, but they've been trimming back both their social programs and their levels of taxation since the 1990s. Once the people realized that their economies were suffering because of the expanding tax and spend social democracy policies that kept being implemented. As far as levels of poverty are concerned, national level poverty is measured comparatively to what other people in the same country are making. And where that line is set varies from country to country. Not even the World Bank will release comparative data sets on that. And all 4 countries have higher individual and family tax burdens than the US, with Sweden and Finland's being significantly higher. If you earn $54,000, once your employer has paid the necessary taxes for hiring you and you've paid your income taxes, you're left with $39,000 in the US and only $20,000 to $25,000 in Sweden. I wouldn't call that free anything. But what about their GDP, huh? Well, according to the World Bank's most recent data, only Norway had a GDP per capita that was higher than the US, and that's largely because of their relatively large petroleum reserves. It's also worth noting that their per capita GDP has sharply decreased in recent years. Their high minimum wage? By and large, it isn't set by their government. It's negotiated industry by industry between unions and businesses, usually. Bob, it's great that you want other people to be happier, but maybe we could find a way that doesn't involve government mandates or Viking horns? Valhalla! You can keep the Viking horns, then. Hey, folks, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please check out fee.org.
I enjoy how stupid it was, but anyway, any thoughts on that?
I love how was that a conservative made video?
That was a conservative made video.
I could totally tell because they just love not paying taxes. I swear to God, they're like anything about not paying taxes. They're like all for it.
And okay, here's the thing.
Yeah, I lost brain cells too.
when I first became a socialist, and this was back in the 1990s, I used to go with the simple mindset talking point. Yeah, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, any country in Europe, they're socialists. I used to do that, and sometimes I kind of do it to make a point. But yeah, and here's the thing: there's no pure communism. There's no pure socialism. There's no pure capitalism, for starters. And yeah, it's true that these countries are still largely capitalist economies, but they are governed. When people decide to vote for these parties, they're governed by a socialist party, a labor party, or a social democratic party, which in their platforms and when they were being created, basically say, hey, socialism is our aim. They are in coalition with Greens. And in some of the Nordic countries, they're not called communist parties, but they're kind of adjacent. They're kind of what they call, it's part of what they call Euro communism. It's sort of its own thing, like the Left Party of Sweden, the Socialist Left Party of Norway, the Dutch Socialist Party. They usually work with the more mainstream Social Democrats in power. And all these people in coalitions created good societies. And here's the thing: the high wages they have, it's true they don't have minimum wage in a lot of these countries, and they'll use that as an example. And the only reason, here's the thing: they don't have to, because their unions are so strong that they have leverage that they basically force the companies to keep the wages high. And in some ways, I think that's better than having a minimum wage. So, and I have a friend that lives in Montana that goes to Norway every other year. He's told me that Norway, you have to literally look for property. It's impossible to find it there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, any thoughts on that, or?
No, it was stupid. It was dumb.
Well, and even
I hate when they say like they don't, or they use, instead of saying social programs, they say welfare. That pisses me off. It's like, that's what a social program is to help take care of the people who can't take care of themselves. Why do you have to call it welfare? Like, I just hate that manipulation tactic they use, because when we give billions of dollars to Lockheed and Northrop, we call it subsidies, but when we give it to regular citizens, it's called welfare. Stupid.
Yeah, in America, when they give like the food stamps and Section 8 housing, they call it welfare. They'll call Social Security and Medicare, they'll call that entitlements. And then and when the conservatives tell you that's what they're against, and you use the corporate welfare argument, all of a sudden they're like, well, I'm against corporate welfare too. But they're going to more focus on what benefits poor middle class people. And
Yep. But they'll be okay with, corporations getting their subsidies, because the trickle down economics, we're going to get a little bit of it. And it's going to, they're job creators is what they say. They create jobs, as if like everybody here on earth that's a regular person could be a job creator no matter what. So your point is completely invalid, because I could own a business and hire a couple of people, and now I'm a job creator. If I give my kid $20 for doing the fucking chores, I'm a job creator. So fuck out of here. I'm a job creator too. Fuck you. Give me subsidies, bitch.
We're living under the 11th term of Ronald Reagan. So, and
Right.
it has failed. It was a failure when I was growing up. I could see that it was a failure then. And why the fuck did we just keep insisting on keeping, I want the Reagan Revolution dismantled, scrapped, and everything. And I want a second New Deal with a little more balls to it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And yeah, correct. Bailouts too. Free market. Yep. The terms that they use, man. I swear.
Exactly. So, yeah, I just thought that was, and I started hearing Ben Shapiro starting to use those arguments, and I just did not want to subject everyone to Ben Shapiro, voice. So,
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did
That
everybody.
definitely looked like a PragerU video for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I decided to do a service instead of an act of crime against humanity by
Thank you.
exposing everybody to Dan Shapiro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yum, yum, yum. We don't want to hear about him. Yum, yum.
Yeah.
Annoying ass little boy.
Yeah. Yeah, he sucks.
Yep.
But there is a Ben Shapiro video that I kind of will be sharing in spite of what I just said. It's from the Amazing Atheist, and it's an old one too, but it relates to what was being discussed. So at least we get to hear somebody insult the Ben Shapiro in the process.
Okay.
And he's pretty brutal against Ben Shapiro when he decides to go after him.
Okay.
Time's up. Ben Shapiro rips Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez. Let's hear it.
Bernie Sanders is the ideological thought leader of the Democratic Party. He is the wise man upon the mountain who sits there conveying his genius to the rest of the American public. And he was, he's stupid. But Bernie Sanders, I run out of accolades for Bernie Sanders. He was on CBS this morning discussing why America is fundamentally immoral and wrong. And this links up with the Andrew Cuomo perspective that America is inherently bad. What would make America better is if America were no longer America. If America were to embrace all of these other programs and policies that America has historically not embraced because we believe in individual liberty over collective redistribution. And that's the basic idea.
He doesn't believe in individual liberty. It's not an economic issue per se, but Ben Shapiro was all for the crackdowns on free speech after October 7th.
Yep, safe spaces, all of it.
Yeah, he's a little crybaby that wants his safe space, and he got his feelings hurt because somebody says what Israel's doing to the Palestinians sucks, and he acts like, he accuses people with the victimization and all of that, but all of a sudden he turns into an identity politics asshole and act like he's being persecuted, and nobody's persecuting Ben Shapiro. Honestly, his voice is persecuting all of us. So,
So your argument for not changing policy is because historically we've never had those policies. I mean, are you aware that you could be dropped off at any point in history and make that same argument? Hey man, America has traditionally had slavery. Hey man, women traditionally have not been allowed to vote. Yeah, lots of things have been tradition until they weren't anymore. So I'm not saying that you're wrong about your position. I mean, I am saying that, but even if you were right, that's a shitty argument. Tradition's good because it's tradition. I don't buy that bullshit. Neither should anyone else.
not only that, I mean, these countries that have the free medical universal health care, there was a time that they didn't have it. And, for example, so if he's going with that argument, I mean, I tell people, a conservative government in Germany in 1881 created the first universal healthcare system in the world, Otto von Bismarck's. Of course, he got scared of they were more radical back then. The Social Democrats in Germany were more radical in the 19th century. And he had to go and create the welfare state to keep the workers content and all of that. And, as I said, was a time that these other countries didn't have this sort of thing. And until they decided, it's time we do have these things. Yep. We're long overdue here.
Definitely long overdue. Yeah. And it's not like our traditions here in America are that set in stone or from way far back, and we have always had these kinds of any kind of tradition. I mean, that just hearing tradition, it brings in my head Santa Claus was invented by the Coca-Cola company, at least the red and white outfit with the furry white trim, riding on a sleigh with reindeers. That was invented by Coca-Cola to get people to buy more Coca-Cola back in the early mid 1900s, and it just became the symbolism of Christmas. So, and now we think of it as tradition, like it's always been around. So, You know, it's not until it is.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that with the culture war because
Yeah.
a lot of people is like, well, Donald Trump allowed America to say Merry Christmas again. I'm not like, I'll tell these people, shut the fuck up. Nobody's forbidding you for saying Merry Christmas. I mean,
Right.
and the thing about it is, as far as Christmas is concerned, it's a commercialized holiday, but
It is.
a lot of people don't even know that most Christians didn't celebrate Christmas until the mid 19th century in the United States.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't realize that. The Catholic Church and the Episcopal Church were the only ones that were really emphasizing on it, and everybody else just sort of, yeah. I'm not going to say they were doing the Jehovah Witness thing before Jehovah Witnesses were doing it, I guess.
Right.
But no, they eventually did the same thing. So tradition, whatever, this is what I got to say about Ben Shapiro. He brings up the weak arguments.
Yep. I like what Hirsch says in the comment. Ben wants to talk about traditions when he can't even carry out the tradition of satisfying his wife.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Ouch.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and imagine when he decides to have sex, he probably just, after sticking in there twice, it's a little stroke, and that's it. I can go back to bed, honey.
Yeah, it's gross. Typical conservative sex.
Yeah. And he's probably wearing pajamas.
Right. Where's his socks still? Still wears his t-shirt. I didn't want to show my chest. I'm insecure.
Exactly.
You turn the light off?
Yeah, the idea of Ben Shapiro having sex is not a nice thought.
No. He pulls down his pants and they're like little tidy whities with like dinosaurs on them.
And she's like, okay, where is it? Oh.
Right? Where are you tucking, babe? I thought we talked about this.
We're bad.
I know, I love it. I'm going to hell, but I've already got VIP access, so I'm cool.
There you go.
So Bernie Sanders is on with CBS this morning, and he explains why America is fundamentally immoral. It's fundamentally immoral, and it is fundamentally wrong. And I would like my pudding cup, please, before I keel over. My blood sugar is simply too low. I cannot handle this any longer. Please play the clip.
Okay. He calls people anti-Semitic for criticizing Israel, but what does he do? He's got something in common with Bernie Sanders. They belong to the same ethnic group. It's just that Bernie's less religious, but I mean, he just engaged in an anti-Semitic trope by mocking Bernie Sanders' demeanor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, but if it would have been somebody, some progressive person doing that, to Ben Shapiro or someone like that, they'll be screaming anti-Semite. I just think it's ironic.
Yeah, no, the projection is thick with the Zionists. Like literally every word that comes out of their mouth is projection. You can take everything that they say and turn it around and put Gaza or, other like Palestinians in the place of what they're saying, and it would actually make more sense. Like it's absolutely crazy, like how they live in a backwards world. It's nuts.
Exactly.
I think that there is growing resentment, not only among young people, who in many cases are going to have a lower standard of living than their parents. I think that there is an understanding there is something fundamentally immoral and wrong about a nation in which we have free people who own more wealth than the bottom half of the American people. That does not make sense.
One of the things that you have to love about Bernie Sanders is that his take on economics is so disconnected from the reality of economics. The only thing I can think to analogize it to is the use of his hands to what he's saying. And they're completely disconnected. And he's just saying, he's sitting there and he's talking to you and you don't know what he is doing with his hands, but it just seems like at the end he's going to be doing the Macarena. No one understands why.
Why is Ben Shapiro being an anti-Semite?
Why is he talking about the way that fucking Bernie moves his hands when literally when Trump talks, he looks like he's sucking two fucking cocks at once? That makes no fucking sense. You're going to
Yeah.
sit there and bag on the way that Bernie is suggestive and expressive with his hands, but you're going to support the guy who is probably the worst at expressing hands. I mean, we can play fire with these fucking conservatives. They're fucking jokes.
Actually,
This is
he
nuts.
didn't vote. He didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2016. Ben Shapiro.
Oh, did he not?
He didn't trust Donald Trump in
Who did he
2016.
vote for then?
He sat it out. He sat out that 2016
Oh.
election.
Good for him.
He was what they called a never Trumper.
Okay.
But in 2020, he was not enthusiastic, but he endorsed him, and because he was more right wing than he anticipated. He actually thought that Trump was a closeted liberal.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. Yeah, that's the thing about never Trumpers. The never Trumpers of 2016 hated Trump because they thought that he wasn't a true conservative. And yeah. I just think it's funny.
Yeah, it's just funny how they sit there and make fun of the way that people talk.
But that's true. That's true. And that remark about not having that full understanding of economics.
Yeah, if anybody has an understanding of economics, it would be Bernie Sanders. He had Stephanie Kelton as his not a campaign manager, financial advisor during his 2016 run. And Stephanie Kelton is like the goddess of MMT. So if anything, he knows more about economics than most Republicans do, except for Paul Ryan, who at least admits to it secretly.
But you know what's funny? We were talking about MMT. A little surprise for everybody that we'll have Shane back tomorrow on my show to do part 2.
He was on a Debate Me Bro show yesterday. I don't know who the Debate Bro was, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw the tail end of it because I was like tired to the world yesterday. Stuff that was going on. Okay. So I guess let's see. We'll do the next video. But I just remember when all that was going on and trying to debunk the whole argument against socialism, we can call it or whatever. I mean, I call it socialism, but that's what I call it. But other people may have another name for it and all of that. So I guess we'll go with the story here. I guess we'll do that one last. That's the one I think you said we'll do last. So which one you want to do? Why strike works, or we could do that one if you like.
Sure.
And we'll do that one. All right.
Teachers in the United States. It's students striking for action on climate change. It's the Yellow Vests in France calling for a general strike. And it's the largest strike in history. 150 million workers participating in a 2-day general strike against Indian Prime Minister Modi's anti-labor policies. What are strikes? Strikes are a form of direct action. They are a way for workers to struggle and win the change they want to see through their own efforts. Basically, a strike is an organized work stoppage performed to make someone, usually bosses, meet your demands. Strikes are a traditional tool of labor movements across the world because they work so well. They work by making it less costly for people in power to give strikers what they want than not to. Strikes have won workers higher wages, better working conditions, the 8 and 10-hour working days, weekends, holidays, sick pay, and much more. If we focus just on the United States recently, striking workers have won the $15 per hour minimum wage in many states. Last year, teachers in West Virginia, Arizona, Colorado, Kentucky, and Oklahoma all went on strike. So too did prisoners, fast food workers, and hotel workers. Many of them want major improvements to wages and working conditions. Organizing with their communities, striking teachers in LA just won big for teachers and students, including a 6% wage increase with no concessions, demands for class size caps and decreasing class sizes across the board, a moratorium on charter schools, additional school counselors and librarians, a nurse in every school, and demands against racial profiling and for immigrants' rights. You may have heard that Trump recently shut down the US government. He didn't seem to care about the huge costs to the economy, the injustice of working people not getting paid, or the harms of people not being able to get the medication and treatment they have a right to. Then, as soon as a bunch of air traffic controllers call in sick, and the president of the Association for Flight Attendants mentions the possibility of general strike, Trump caves and temporarily reopens government. Do you think that's a coincidence?
Most people that saw you on that screen knew calling their congressman wasn't going to do shit. If you get shown a problem but have no idea how to control it, then you just decide to get used to the problem.
And that's why our plan for tomorrow is important.
Because if we stop them from crossing the picket line this time, we win.
It's a good plan.
Yeah. Tomorrow we show them how to give fucks.
If capitalists and high-up managers, let's call them bosses, listened to workers and cared about what they want, strikes wouldn't be needed. If explaining your perspective and making good arguments was enough to convince them to do the right thing, strikes probably wouldn't exist. But that's not the world we live in. The world we live in is one where, for bosses, maximizing profits comes before everything else. Whether it's a living wage, workers' right to dignified life, basic health and safety, or even the continued existence of our species on this planet. The real world is a world of class struggle between workers and bosses, and it's the outcome of that struggle that decides how the vast majority of people live. One of the main reasons why millennials are so much worse off than their parents is that for some time now, the bosses has been winning. This is why the right is so anti-union. They know that unions are on the side of the working class. In real-world capitalism, class struggle is a constant, whether workers are fighting it or not. The right knows this, and they know which side they're on. That's why Republicans and major corporations spend staggering amounts of money on anti-union propaganda and getting government to pass anti-union legislation. Want to know which side the government is on? None of the last year's striking teachers in West Virginia, Arizona, Colorado, Kentucky, or Oklahoma were legally allowed to strike. This is also why the first thing that the Italian and German fascists did when they got to power was to attack unions. And it's why, in January this year, fascists threatened strikers and racially abused picketers at a strike in Manchester Victoria Station in England. And it's why fascists in Portland are protesting outside of union halls and getting events cancelled, especially those of the Industrial Workers of the World, the most important syndicalist union in United States history. Strikes aren't just a tool for greater wealth and better working conditions. They are also a tool for working class self-emancipation. Under capitalism, workers are dominated, oppressed, and exploited. Working people do not have a reasonable alternative to working for bosses who control the means of production, whether that's fields, factories, or office buildings, to get what they need to live. After all, being poor, homeless, and hungry are not reasonable alternatives, and we all know it. This gives bosses the arbitrary power to decide what workers do and how. In other words, they control the labor process. Bosses decide whom to hire and fire. They can assign people dangerous, harmful, and humiliating tasks. They can decide who to promote and offer opportunities to, and they make long-term strategy and investment decisions. On their own, workers have no real say and no democratic decision-making power in the capitalist economy. Bosses do, and they use that power to maximize profits with little to no regard for workers. This makes capitalism inherently unfree. Strikes are a way of fighting back against this unfreedom. Workers have an interest in striking for at least 3 reasons. First, workers have an interest in freedom, in being free from domination, oppression, and exploitation. They have an interest in controlling their own activities and their own lives. Every step in the struggle that reduces the power of bosses over workers, up to the point of workers taking control over their own workplaces, is an expansion of their freedom. By decreasing the domination, oppression, and exploitation that workers are subject to, strikes increase freedom. Second, workers have an interest in their self-emancipation, in freeing themselves from unnecessary domination, oppression, and exploitation. The demand to control our own activities and our own lives is based on the idea of using our own powers to individually and collectively self-direct or self-manage our lives. The practice of collectively self-directed struggle expands their powers to resist and eventually overcome oppression, and in itself increases and practices workers' powers of self-direction and self-determination. The process of struggling for your own self-emancipation, for instance through striking, increases and expresses your freedom. Third, workers have an interest in the many other individual and collective benefits of striking, such as higher wages, better working conditions, expanded rights and freedoms, and greater confidence in their own dignity and power. Strikes are back because they work. They are back because they are necessary to make the world a decent place for the vast majority of the people in it. And they are back because they are a way of fighting for the self-emancipation of working people. Strikes are back because they change the world for the better.
So what about being a part of something important, huh? Oh shit. Looks like the sun is about to
How much
explode.
longer we got on this video?
We are a part of something important.
Almost over.
Oh, it's almost over. Okay.
Thank you for watching.
Oh, that's it.
We are
Okay,
Red
I was
Plateaus.
thinking it was done.
We
I
are a
wasn't
channel
completely sure
dedicated.
yet.
Yeah.
I just really like that, the importance of striking.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I've been in a union job for 20 years, but I never was involved in a strike at my workplace. But we were bordering on, well, in 2006, we were supposedly bordering on a strike at work because there was a communication breakdown, and I knew we weren't going to go to a strike because we're North Carolina people. And North Carolina workers, I don't care. They're just not going to go on strike, and they roll over and play dead, and
right.
Yeah, I was so mad at people just voted for a bad union contract. They in 2006, I was just like, I came in work that night in a very bad mood. I almost lost my job that evening because I was in such a foul mood, but. No, strikes do work, and they got it so where we can't have a general strike in this country, and we need to find a way to have some kind of a general strike.
Right. It's really hard, especially with, like you were saying earlier, with the Republicans fighting back against it so hard. And then we just had proof this last few years with Obama 2.0 of Biden doing canceling the strikes for the railroad workers. So, both sides are fighting against it. They're obviously, as we all know, they're on the side of the corporations and not the side of the people. And there's got to be a freaking way. Like, I know after the railroad strikes where they were like, y'all can't strike anymore, and they told them they have to go back to work, like that shit really disheartened me. But I mean, there's got to be something, right?
That was when I decided to 100% stop supporting AOC. What was critical support turned into opposition, which is why when she voted to basically bust a strike, I was like, you call yourself a socialist?
Right.
Right. And it was so weird as it was a Bernie Sanders bill that was sent to the U.S. House of Representatives. And she voted against a bill sponsored by Bernie Sanders. Right. That was, because the Bernie Sanders bill was actually okay. It was, for all his disappointments, and everything. I do think he kind of tries still, and and this bill would have actually granted 7 sick leave days to these road workers, and it would have actually solved the problem the way it needed to be solved.
Yep. And they just stopped it.
Yeah, dead on its tracks.
Forced them to go back to work like that. I don't understand how, if we're a free country and those people are striking and the government says you can't strike, why didn't the people just keep doing it? Why didn't the people just keep striking? Like, it's a free country. We're allowed to do this. It didn't make any fucking sense to me why it just stopped.
And apparently it was costing. It would have cost $2 billion a day or something.
But it doesn't fucking matter. Like, that's the point of protesting and all of that, is to inconvenience the people that you're protesting for, like the or against. That's the whole point of it, is to bring the shit down and take it down so that the corporate owners get fucking humbled and be like, okay, yeah, you're fucking right, we fucked up, what do you need? And get us back to where the people have the power. It's just, if we're a free fucking country, I just didn't think that vote could have had that much power on people who were striking anyways.
It's really a shame.
Yeah.
What it just happened. I mean, just it's like,
I don't get it either.
We ever going to move forward in this country this day and age?
It's always one step forward, two steps back. We feel like we're progressing and then we go back.
I feel like we're going one step forward and 5 steps back sometimes.
Sometimes, fucking A.
Yeah. So, and I remember just complaining how horrible things were 25, 30 years ago, and it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
I hate to think of how we're going to be in the next 20 years sometimes. I don't want to sound like a doomer.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's not getting any fucking better. It's really not.
No. And we had some opportunities, believe it or not, with COVID. I mean, to kind of turn things around a little bit. We had an opportunity to do some kind of health care for people, and even it just didn't,
Yep. I know.
Yeah. I'm gonna okay. Somebody's knocking at the door. I'll be right back in a second.
All right, you got it.
So sorry about that.
Nope, you're good. Hey, you're going to be live in about 10 minutes. Extra Booyah with special guest Game.Film. He's cool. I've been watching a couple of his gaming streams. He's been fun to watch. Tell him I says hi. I'll probably be there watching as usual. That's cool. 10 minutes. You got it. Hi, Miss Sherry. Yeah, definitely want to bring you back on here again for sure. We do like once a week show now too, so we'll have to figure out a good time. Because when I had you on my show, what was it, like once a month? I was doing like 4 or 5 shows a week, which was a lot. That was a lot. I don't know how people do it. I really don't. Without getting paid, at least. I couldn't do it. Not that long without getting paid.
I'm back.
Non-motivational. All right, welcome back.
All right.
We can hop off early if you want. We got like 10 more minutes, and Warren's going to be live in about 10 minutes with Game.Film.
That might work, and we have to probably discuss a few things anyway before too long. So if you're willing to, we can. We'll be back, I guess, next Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget to go check out Warren's channel, Extra Booyah. He's gonna have Game.Film on today. Yay!
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully the electricity and the cable won't go out next week.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Exactly. It didn't today.
Yeah. Touche.
Yeah. Touche. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Let's see. Let me make my announcement then. Let's see. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Shane's coming back to the Willie Bragg show, and we're going to continue our discussion on MMT and I'm going to be discussing the Humphrey Hawkins Act, because we can solve our unemployment problems right now. But I'll talk about that tomorrow. Let's see what else is going on. Friday, I'll be, I'll do a live stream on Friday, 8 o'clock, and then if I do a surprise live stream, it will be a surprise. So, any plans, Jimmy?
Hi, kitty. For this week? No, I'm just
Yeah.
going to be gaming, streaming some games. That's what I'm going to be doing.
All right. Well,
Hey, Warren, if you want a game with me, you go download that Once Human game. It looks very, very, very scary, and I downloaded it, and I haven't opened it up yet, and I want to stream it, but I'm too scared because it's a scary horror game, and those are the only things that scare me in my life, so I don't want to do it by myself.
I scare myself when I look into the mirror.
No, man, I don't get scared of anything. Haunted houses, abandoned places, like none of that shit scares me at all whatsoever. But you put me in front of like Resident Evil video games and I will cry. Literally, I will cry. It's wild.
Actually, I saw a movie that kind of I'm not going to say scared me, but I saw a movie that was a little disturbing. And this past summer, a movie that I didn't even realize what was on in 1990. You ever heard of the actress Rainbow Harvest?
No.
She's not around anymore, but she's a dead ringer for Winona Ryder. And
okay.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of people say they look alike. And you can watch the movie for free. It's called Mirror Mirror from 1990. And I tell you, that movie was a little disturbing. It was a kind of a disturbing movie about a mirror that was possessed, and she got possessed by the mirror.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You stream on your channel too, PHX? Lately, Fortnite. I play Fortnite with some random stuff tossed in. Definitely, I'll go give you a follow. Let me open it.
Okay. And I guess we'll say goodbye to everyone, and
yeah,
and see y'all next week. Take care. And
yes, free Palestine, stay high.
Free Palestine, stay high. Free speech, and just liberation for all people.
Hi, Roxy. Yep.
All right, take care.